the year Julia Liu served as our president, we used the bell to call everybody back, just like a dairy cow. I have to give you some interesting story. You know how many individuals within this, under this roof actually have the expertise trained in animal husbandry, a special department of National Taiwan University. Can you guess? Two, including of our speaker, two speakers. And the guy still having the microphone, and the other person actually helping out managing the whole program this year. So we have 4 people actually came from the same department. We used to study how to do the dairy cow, how to increase the production, etc. So we are from Taiwan, Shimusi. But I have to tell you the truth. The session chair, Dr. Martin Lowe, together with his crew, are critical speaker in town. Dr. Martin Lowe is international known, nutritionist, and also food safety focused. His current mission is trying to help out the developing country for their food safety program. He has his passion. Without further ado, and without further explain the bio, the background, experience, I will let him to tell us all about what he sees about food safety, global safety issue, and maybe focus on some of the things that happened in Taiwan in the last few years also. Anyway, he has all the floor. Let's give him a round of applause.
And then you need to raise your hand and say, oh, Dr. Lowe, it's a very Not necessarily so, because the U.S. is the most honest country. We post everything we know on the internet, so everybody can know what's going on. So I was talking to my neighbor the other day when he said he had a nice era of life. When he grew up, this country, we have Steve Jobs, we have Johnny Cash, and we have Pop Hope. But now look at the new era. We have no jobs, no cash, and no hope. And I talk about this jokingly, but in a way, let's take a look at it from a food safety point of view. So who's really supposed to do the jobs? That's usually the first question we will ask. Secondly, am I spending the right cash on things that are safe and quality? And number three, is there any hope that we can improve food safety? So let me use this as base tone to start our afternoon section. So we all know about the famous cases in China, right? This is melamine. Melamine is a very powerful powder that's tasteless, it's odorless, and it's white. And the best part is when you run it through a protein analyzer, if you study something close to like a protein analysis using a method called CAPA method, they show up as protein. So somebody in China who was quite smart, they know they have good chemistry education, so they know, oh, this is the good way to fool the people. So this is the protein enhancer in milk. So if you go to a restaurant, this is actually what used to make these beautiful plastic plates and bowls. But they end up putting into infant formula and some milk powders. Okay, so that causes a big problem, and you don't know about that. So China spent a lot of money to get rid of this. And guess who's the biggest winner in this whole process? Mead Johnson. Because everybody's buying infant formula from Mead Johnson. They don't buy anything from China. They import things from Mead Johnson. And in Hong Kong, there's a rule. Whoever visited Hong Kong, when you go back to China, you can only carry 2 cans of infant formula. More than that is illegal import. Okay? And then the Hong Kong people say, if you bring milk powder from China to Hong Kong, should we charge you as drug dealing? Because it's toxic. So it's a joke, but it tells you how consumers are so sensitive about this information. So China actually destroyed all these melamine, and right now, we actually work with several universities in China that every batch of milk, before they reach the milk processor, they need to be inspected and checked by SPLC to make sure it's melamine free. So my friend who and my former student who work for the Chinese FDA, they said, oh, nice, now we don't have trouble. But before they can rest assured, the next web things come up. You know, in the part of China, in the Suzhou area, they produce a nice leather jacket. For those who like to buy these leather collections, Suzhou is a place to go. They also manufacture a lot of the seats, the leather seats for cars. And guess what happened? Just as we thought that the melamine was over, what happened was some smart people took the trim over, okay, the leftover from the leather production. They used strong acid to hydrolyze it. And then they become protein again. And then the protein added back to milk. So my student from China called me and say, Dr. Lo, literally he called me and say, Dr. Lo, how can we check this protein is from milk or from leather? I thought about it. You can do all these gel electrophoresis, and you can run those gel 2D, 3D, whatever you want to run. But it takes time. So I told them, well, the best way to check those products is actually if you can detect any heavy metal residues, because for these leather to be hydrolyzed, you need these heavy metal as a catalyst, okay, to hydrolyze it. So China now is the only country on earth that checks heavy metal residue in milk. So with this I said, because every country needs to have their own tailored food safety program to meet that. Most recently, there's another scare on the news. It's about the golden rice. It's genetically modified golden rice, and just because some scientists did not follow the protocol, so they imported the rice to conduct a study, human trial, in a small village in London. And then when they did that, they caused a lot of trouble. So it's NIH approved protocol, but Chinese never know about it. The researchers never announced that it was a protocol to use. So the few people there are furious. So I was just in China at that time when this happened. So next to this is a huge thing that's happening in China. Another thing I have a close encounter is this particular ingredient. This is called trans fatty acids. This is the art. When I was a graduate student at Ohio State University, people think, hey, Martin, this is the greatest technology. That's what my professor called it. When a liquid oil is, the plain oil is liquid under room temperature. And look at animal fat. I have a lot of that. I come to America 30 pounds ago. And when you have this kind of animal fat, it's solid under room temperature. So people think, can we do anything to come up with something that's in between? So they try to use a very nice chemistry to say, oh, there's a more double bond in saturated plain oil. There's more double bond. So can we add some hydrogen back to it? So they use this strong chemical reaction to add hydrogen. That's why you see those products called hydrogenated soybean oil. And when soybean oils are out there, they are used, and they are so popular because they can control the melting points. So at some point, there were some famous chocolate products that they claimed, oh, it doesn't melt in your hand, it only melts in your mouth. Why is that? You all know what product I'm talking about, right? It's a little symbol like that on a chocolate and a piece of it. Okay? And then for that particular product, they're able to control the melting point exactly at 37 degrees Celsius. That's our body temperature. So regardless of how you squeeze your hand, it reaches only about 36, 36.5. Never reach 37. So it never melts in your hand, it only melts in your mouth. So at that time, my professor was telling me this is a beautiful art that people have done. But what we didn't know at that time was that it got used so dramatically in different kind of products. And the famous peanut butter use it, everybody uses it. But the downside was when you add hydrogen to the things, if you don't add it right, you can create the trans fatty acids. And these trans fatty acids end up doing what? They end up leading to high level of LDL, the low density lipoprotein, which is the bad cholesterol, to block that. So people actually are happy to see when Montgomery County of Maryland become the first county in the United States to block use of trans fatty acids in any restaurant food. And my close encounter with this incident was back in 2008. Because at that time, we at Maryland pushed out this law. But in China, there was no law out there. But there are a lot of companies that use a lot of those products, hydrogen and oil in there. So me and my researcher from China, we did a study. We tried to analyze 97 products from the Chinese market. So we collect samples from Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou. And after we analyzed those data, we found out some products actually have 35 to 25 times higher trans fatty acid amount than allowable label in the US. That's 3,500% more. Okay? How could that happen? So I talked to the journal editor of Journal of Food Science, and he said, well, Martin, there are two things. One thing is called brave, one thing is called fearless. There's a difference. Because I want him to do this, to publish a company named Chinese English side by side, with the data I selected, with the batch number and the results. So I published it. So people warn me when I go to China next time I need to hire a bodyguard. But actually, after we first reported this data in Shanghai in 2008, what happened was our speech was at 10 o'clock in the morning, and about 2 o'clock, my researcher in China, she got a phone call from the Chinese, the People's Liberation Army. You know about the power of the army in China, right? And they asked for a copy of our report, and we sent them one. And in 1 week, they launched a national survey about trans fatty acid in China. That was powerful. But at that time, they become a socio-economical issue. So on TV, like the CCTV, it's very powerful in China. They have lots of reports going on, and the Chinese Association of Bakers, the president of that association, went on TV and said, this is a lie. There's a bunch of people try to stir up some S-word in China to make the whole society unstable, and these people should be penalized. And his base was saying that there's no problem on the people's average. I said, well, he's right. You take whatever number divided by 1.6 billion, everything becomes no problem. Right? Only the people who are in the coastal area, coastal cities, Beijing, Shanghai, they buy these Western style of waffle cookies, or this Western style cakes. They eat a lot of the kids like to go to McDonald's, KFC, and when the inland, the main part of the country, the countryside, nobody actually have access to those food. Okay, so there's a fundamental difference there. So we did that, and then guess what? It's a lengthy fight. The CCTV people tried to chase me down in Xiamen, tried to interview me, but I run away. Thankfully, to a typhoon that was attacking the city at that time. And I came back to here, so I did not show my face on TV. However, one good news to share with you is that starting from January 1st this year, every single packaged food in China has to clearly label their trans fatty acid content. So we consider that a major victory that we contributed a little bit. So when I grew up on this small island of Taiwan, and we all come here and we try for some time, and we feel very comfortable that we can claim that the food products from Taiwan tend to be better and superior. But then with the recent news, is it true or not? Let's talk about it. So we know about these famous incidents of these plasticizers, okay? And these are a bunch of things that they should not even come close to the food establishments. These are the ones who put your house floor down, put your wallpaper up. Okay, that's glue. That's the ingredient goes in there. But somehow Taiwan's food company can have access to that. And the problem actually occurred not because the company intentionally want to do that. Okay, the big company, of course, like Union President, Tongyi or the other company. Why do they end up having this kind of thing? Because in Taiwan, we talk about R&D, right? Research and development. Taiwan's R is always very small, lowercase, and the font about 7 or 6. And the D is supersized, large. Okay? So usually what Taiwanese companies do is that they send people out to Japan, to Korea, to US, look at what's the best-selling product out there, and come back home and they say, can we reverse engineer it? Reverse engineer to find out what the recipe, then we can make something more delicious. And in the process, that give another company, a small company who has some chemical engineering background, they can sell a lot of premix. So it's a bunch of premix. It's a mixture of unknowns. They just tell you this is a group of emulsifying agents. And it does a beautiful job. So the company on the recipient side, they have no clue that this is not good. Okay, so there's a little gap right there. And of course, people talk about these things about, oh, now the lawsuit from consumer only result in a $1.2 million NT dollar payment to consumers, which is almost nothing when you divide up the people that's in the lawsuit. And then there are a lot of legal cases still ongoing. But how do we deal with situations like this? So later on, I'm going to share with you some of the approaches that the US is doing. Maybe this can help people understand why things can be improved in Taiwan. The next example I want to give is the Vectomy. Okay. This was the lean muscle agent. It's a drug that has some kind of stimulation effect to make you feel excited. Okay. And so this drug is allowed to use on meat animals. So in cows, in cats, in pigs. And why it caused so much trouble last year, the year before last year. And this lean muscle agents, what happened was that they're used to make these cow and cattle that have heart pumps faster. They feel very excited. And of course, when you're excited, you don't accumulate fat, so you don't lean. And they can use it until the last day before they got sacrificed for the market. And what's the problem? Okay, the problem is that we rely on a study, this set of experiment, the legal allowance, is only rely on a set of study done by Unilever, that they only use what I call 5+1 samples. They had only 6 guys aged between 19 and 27. That's very young age, all white Caucasian. And so they feed them different doses. So I actually have an extra study on the slide here. And after the second dose, one guy could not take it. So the doctor excluded his data. So that's what I call 5+1 data. And somehow this kind of data got pushed through. There may be a powerful lobbying effort by Unilever or something that is pushed through and become the US allowed ingredients. It's for animal feed. Okay? So this is kind of things that's causing people worries. In the US, we believe in science. But we might, at some point, we become a sufferer of science. Why do I say that? Because in EU, their regulation is totally different. EU believe in that unless the animal is sick, we cannot use anything that's similar to a hormone or any therapeutic effect to feed the animal. But in the US, we use these kind of things to stimulate our animal. And we also use probiotics, which of course is like, it's a drug against bacteria. So the idea is, okay, let me give you all the animal these probiotics. So when any pathogenic microorganism comes, they can deter them with this weapon at the hand. But they did not know that it's training the bacteria to become bigger and stronger. So they're training super bug. That's why these antibiotic resistance become a problem. So looking into Taiwan now that they settled somehow this issue and they check. It's one thing about red column I must mention is that this ingredient does not accumulate in meat muscle. So in the US, we state we don't eat internal organs. And those internal organs might have a chance, the liver, the kidney, they might have a higher residual amount of red column in them. And those are the parts that got exported to Taiwan. And that's why Korea, Taiwan, Japan, they try to resist this type of product. The one that's of course very popular on the Taiwanese TV is pang, right? Pang is a word from Japanese. This is the CAPA bakery. It's a high-end bakery, and you cannot believe you pay how much dollar to stay the night to get that. And the problem occurred to the company. Nothing wrong about their food safety. It's the use of these artificial flavoring agents, but this is more like an economic fraud. They try to sell you something, and not only by this bread company now, but now there's another new issue that's actually more heated on TV, and there's no more news coming out. If you pay attention to the news in Taiwan, that these are the olive oil that's been tempered, adulterated, and they do the whole 9 yards. They took what? They took this particular ingredient, it's a colorant. It's called the sodium copper chlorophyll. Okay? It's similar to chlorophyll, but it's from the feces of the seal worm. And they extract that color. It's legal. This is considered a natural colorant by the FDA. So we can use that to some products, not all of them. And oil, because this oil has its own hydrophobicity, it can break down this ingredient and cause this to transfer into something that's pathogenic, actually carcinogenic. So we do not use them to use with oil. But people in Taiwan, they're very smart, they save money, so they say, okay, it's a nice color, you put a little bit into your not so virgin olive oil, you can turn it into this bright, nice color right there. So that's a problem. And USDA does a very close grading system about the US olive oil right there. So enough about across the Pacific. Let me take the focus back to the US. In the US, who's involved in regulating food safety? Right, we know about our friends, Food, Drug, and Alcohol, Food and Drug Administration. Okay? The FDA and USDA are the primary regulators for that. But then our water, processing water is regulated by US EPA. And then any truck on the road that sends your frozen juice or sends your refrigerated milk through the highway system, those are regulated by the Department of Transportation. And of course, US CDC, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, is the one that when something won't happen, they come in and they are involved in the inspection, in the checking, in the reporting, even in the final criminal ruling of the process. So some people ask me, do we suffer from any food safety problem during the government shutdown? Well, some of you might enjoy your free time at home. Like my wife enjoys staying home for 16 days, waking up in the noontime during the government shutdown. But how can that be? Does that impact our food safety? The answer is actually no. Why is that? Because US is a very smart system. When I say smart, it's not because the people who are in the job are very smart. It's because the systems tell you that who's responsible for the safety of food products? It's the manufacturer, the processor. Whoever makes food to sell to the public, you are the one who's be responsible for the safety of your products. FDA, USDA, we are here to help you do the job right. So the hands off. It's actually a pretty good system. However, the system is not applicable to different countries. Like about 12 years ago, Korea sent a group of delegates to the US. They tried to learn something about FDA. They copied all the code of federal regulation relative to food safety. They go back for the KFDA. And after 3 years, they gave it up. They said, this doesn't fit our system. Because U.S. food law actually based on a very, very profound legal system to back it up. So if a company has several problems with your product, you enter a legal system, you're pretty much out of business as an owner. Okay? Every food safety plan in the country here is led by the CEO of the company, and they are the one who will be put in jail if they have outbreak efforts. Okay? So the Maryland state, different state level, okay, for example, the Maryland Department of Health and Mental Hygiene is the one that will take care of the inspection at the state level. They work with different county inspectors. Actually, one time I went out with a PG county inspector to inspect McDonald's. At 6:30 in the morning, we found ourselves crawling behind the sink, inspecting the greasy floor in one of the McDonald's there. Okay, so these are very nice people who work really hard to carry out the inspection. So how do we offer to do this kind of things? And sometimes you might wonder, we go to like a state fair, go to any county fair, or even in your neighborhood. You see a little boy, little girl selling cookies with what, lemonade. You think, hey, do they need to get a permit or license from the state health department? Do they need to get FDA inspected? How about the other type of product? Honey, your nice Italian sauce, or even the pickle that we all enjoy doing, going with the chips and your hamburgers. Which one is one that FDA pays very close attention to? It's the pickle, it's the honey, right? You say, why? Why is that? Because we base on risk. The cookie is so dry, the lemonade pH is so low, nothing but to grow in them, so it's low risk. So FDA says, you guys are free. You don't need to worry about that because a lemonade is a pH about 4.2, 4.1. And if you go to these type of honey and different kind of sauce and pickles, this is what we call the high-risk product. So the whole risk system is based on what? Let me use the analogy of the hurdle system. Okay, this is Olympics. I took the picture from the internet, and you need to jump through all the hurdles to win the gold medal in the Olympics game. And same for bacteria. So the idea of the U.S. food safety system is that we design many, many hurdles, so make it more difficult for these pathogenic microorganisms to go through. Okay. So then let's look at what are the hurdles. First, we need to look at what the bacteria, what do they like? Of course, they like nutrients. They give up like meat. So can we remove that? Of course, if you don't eat, just take pills, then there's no food safety problem. But that's out of the picture. How about water? Aqua? Yes. They like water. So if you can try a product down to 7 degrees that no bacteria can survive. But nowadays, we got another scary story. There's one bacteria that can survive in a very dry condition. I'll tell you what that is in 2 seconds. Or we can work on the pH. pH is the one that's very important. Legally, 4.6 is the cutoff. Okay? If anything can be lower than 4.6, government said, you guys are pathogenic free, so you're okay. And if above 4.6, we need to take close control. So that's why all the canned products, look at these chicken noodle soup from canned foods. Look at all these Green Giant canned peas, canned corns, kernel, the creams. Okay? All these kind of canned products need to be carefully processed. Because why? Otherwise, something very dangerous will survive. And also, because the nature of microbial contamination is very difficult to prevent. Why is that? Let me show you this slide. If you go to a restaurant and you eat something, in about 2 hours, you feel like, oh, something's wrong. So you go to the restaurant, you do the business, and you say, oh, what might be causing the problem? If you're sure it's from the food you just ate, it's pretty much staphylococcus, this little tiny golden bacteria on the microscope, that they can do the damage. But look at the other bacteria, some E. coli, some like Listeria up here. This particular Listeria is one that can grow in your refrigerator. It has 40% dissolving, but it can kill people. And it also causes stillbirths. So if you're pregnant, you need to be careful about the refrigerated food that you eat because it's not fresh. Then you might run into this guy. But this guy takes about, they can hide your food up to 12 days to 2 weeks. So do you remember what you ate yesterday? I don't. Okay, I don't remember what I ate for lunch. You just say lunch, right? I don't remember what I ate. It's very hard for us to trace back to what we eat. So this is very difficult. And why we need to pay close attention to these high-risk products? Besides the one of animal origin, of course. Okay, we know about beef, we know about pork, we know about chicken. Right now, USDA is looking for ways to solve their major problem because what? Right now, every beef, chicken, and pork processing line, at the end, there's a USDA uniform officer sitting there to inspect every bag of the chicken legs and chicken breast. Then they sit on the beautiful chicken diaper and the layer absorb the moisture and cover with the clear bag. There's men, it's USDA form uniform sitting there to inspect it. But they have a problem. These people are in their close to their retirement age. When you try to recruit young people, talking to your teenager, talking to your college graduates, who want to get paid to sit there and watch your chicken move in front of you for 8 hours a day? Nobody. They cannot find anyone to replace those kind of work. And besides those animal products, the one thing we want to talk about is this guy called Clostridium botulinum. It's this bacteria that produces the most potent neurotoxin ever known to human being. It paralyzes you. Okay? They are spore formers. And what comes to worse, they don't like oxygen. If you put them out here, they die. But you put them in a can, seal them, they will so protected, warming body. They don't want to leave that environment. Okay? And those canned products, if your pH is not low enough, you're in trouble. So that's why USDA and FDA set up this very strong requirement for you to register their product with them. And we'll talk about that in a second. But then smart people like the plastic surgeons, okay, they take the same toxin produced by botulism. It's called Botox. This is the same, most potent neurotoxin known to human being. And what they do is that they take the toxin and inject ladies here and here and here on the side and on the cheek here. Why is that? It paralyzes you, it numbs you, so when you smile, nothing moves. You smile, and so it's wrinkle resistant, so you look younger. Okay, that's how powerful these things are. It all comes from this very potent bacteria. And so part of my work, I serve as the process authority for the FDA to prove these high-risk products. So my signature actually have legal power for the FDA to accept the samples. And to carefully monitor and defeat these type of products, guess what we have to do? We have to study for each job. Okay? Each company who processes the product in a job. We find out where the coldest spot inside is. For example, you have the whole sliced pickle, you have the whole pickle, you have the quarter pickle. Everything is different. You need to do this whole study. And you have thermocouple insert in the center. And then look at how the steam is used to cook them, that heat it up, how the temperature reach the right required temperature to kill Clostridium botulinum in a reasonable amount of time. So there's one case. About 2 years ago, there's a company from Guangxi. They produce a very beautiful called Guilin Gao, the Chinese canned products. And they shipped the whole cargo to California. And I got a phone call from FDA, my FDA friend, the inspector. And they said, "Mark, can you tell this guy to get this shit together?" I said, what do you mean by that? Sorry about vocabulary. Because he said, "Call from my friend Ben Gaithersburg from FDA." He said they don't know what they're doing. Because when they supply a cargo like that, any imported canned food, you need to have a thermal study, just what I just told you. How to cook those things in there, what's the temperature profile for cooking them. So there are lots of loopholes. Sometimes they have a temperature increase in about 6 degrees in 1 minute, which is not possible without secondary resource. So we have lengthy discussion about this, and then the company couldn't understand the English, so FDA said, "Mark, can you, since you're bilingual, help me to help them?" So I got in touch with them, and then guess what? And this Chinese company are helped by the Chinese government. And the Chinese government people told me face to face, on the phone, say, "Mark, if there's a need to take this FDA people out for dinner, I'll pay for the banquet." That got me so furious. I said, some rules apply in that part, I said, it doesn't apply here. Okay? So I told them to go fly a kite. I'm going to help you. Okay? So this is kind of thing. That's the cultural difference, let it be, or it's the social understanding, but they need a lot of training to make sure. It's not going to take it so seriously here. But look at the other side. Sometimes they say, whatever certificate you need, we can do it for you. So it's paperwork and paperwork. They don't need rest assured about food safety. Something called HACCP. I sometimes jokingly tell my students that if you don't do your job right, this becomes half another cup of coffee and pray. And we cannot allow that to happen because this stands for hazard analysis and critical control points. And this is something that started by the company called Pillsbury. Pillsbury is one with a little small, tiny, doughy guy. They can check out his belly. Okay? And NASA was trying to send their astronauts to outer space. And they think that in the outer space, there's no gravity. So if you have one pathogenic microorganism there, it can spread to all the carbon, all the food will be contaminated. So how can you prove to minimize those risks? So Pillsbury developed a system, and they're not adapted by all US regulatory agencies. So it touched on all the high-risk products, meat, shrimp, seafood, and fresh cut, and they have all the juices. It's based on several things. Something you have to have a very good, strong, good manufacturing practice. And about you have to have standard operating procedures, standard sanitation operating procedures, in order to build your safety program. So one year I was in Taiwan, I got invited to this meeting by the Council of Agriculture, and they're trying to set up GMP, that's good manufacturing practice for dry sweetened fruits. That's called mijian. And when they invite me to the meeting, the first thing I say is, it's not possible to have GMP for this sweetened dry fruit. They say, why? I say, well, because you leave them outdoor, you dry them under the sun, and then whatever cars drive by, things. I grew up in Taiwan. Okay? I knew that area that produces, so I know exactly what happened. Okay? And they said, no, we need to have it proof. I said, why? I said, well, this is the leader's idea. Whoever the chief was at that time, I'll tell you which year. He said that if you don't prove this regulation, every researcher in this room, your funding next year will have a problem. Okay? So I quit and I fly back here. I don't want to participate in that discussion. But you know, sometimes rules are set before any discussion actually took place. And that's the problem. So how do we do the real analysis? These are the 4 very simplified systems we use. And don't read the words out there. Let me simplify it in a way. We have, how many of you here are the first child, the oldest child in your family? You're the first child in your family? Okay, you're like me. We are the critical control points. Because when your parents come home, the house is messy, they'll look at me and say, Martin, what happened? They never ask my 2 younger brothers. They do whatever they want. Okay? And who are they? Of course, as a parent, you can always control your child, your children. And they are all control points. When they are controllable, they are control points. But the eldest is the critical control point. Why is that? In the processing of food product, if you process something, chop out something, and later you need to cook it. So at one point, Montgomery County wanted to say, let's take a look at the Chinese restaurant in Montgomery County. They are all offending the food safety laws. I said, why? They said, because every one of them, they put broccoli on the floor. I said, what's wrong with that? Well, broccoli directly on the floor, that's, you have contamination, all the problem. I said, but don't you forget, downstream there's a process called stir fry. Stir fry is your critical control point because what? The temperature, the level of oil in there, enough to kill any known form of life. Okay, so that's well taken care of. You don't need to worry about it. So I think I convinced them. So they did not require them to put that salad bar to put them on ice and then before they use it. Otherwise, all the Chinese restaurants will be out of business if they take the broccoli. So that's the same spirit. And why am I talking about this? Because every single ingredient that goes into your product needs to be analyzed. And so Marilyn also wants to say, can we develop this same system to a very nice system? Let's use HACCP to regulate every single restaurant. And my reaction to them was, you don't want to turn a Chinese takeout restaurant into a library. See what do you mean by that? Because according to FDA law, every single restaurant needs to have its own set of documents. Okay? And it needs to be in a separate binder. And the binder needs to be kept on the premise for 2 years. So a Chinese takeout restaurant has about 400 items on their menu, 400 binders displayed on there for 2 years. That's a library. Okay? So I said that's not possible. So we end up change the approach. We tell them that there are different types. Something are boiled, something are stir-fried. So we have guidelines to help them do things right. So that's a difference. So in safety program to fit those needs. And let's take a look at the most recent break that impacted many of us. Costco has a recall in California. And because of this company, Fast Farm in California, they have all these bacteria out there. And because of salmonella. What's salmonella? Salmonella is everywhere. It's everywhere, okay? So how can we, so when you cook your food, you cook your chicken, we know as a Chinese, or some people close to Chinese cuisine, you know that you cannot consume raw chicken. You need to cook it until it's done. So you can order medium rare beef, but you never order medium rare pork, medium rare chicken. Why is that? For pork, you have some parasites, right? And for chicken, you have salmonella. And just as we know that we understand a lot about these bacteria, actually something happened in 2006. A company in Georgia, they produced very, very beautiful peanut butter. And they got attacked by salmonella. So when I was a student at Ohio State, I told me food microbiology, he gave a question saying, can salmonella grow in peanut butter? If I say yes, I got a big X and a big 0 point for my grade. Okay, at that time, nobody thought salmonella can survive in this kind of high-fat products. But over time, as we are going from iPhone 1 to iPhone 5, maybe iPhone 12 gets longer, becomes something you can punish your kids with. Okay, this bacteria also evolve. When they evolve, what happens? Okay, they communicate. And when they communicate, they become stronger. Salmonella has a form called desiccated salmonella. They can dry themselves. They stay there. They don't do anything. But they are waiting for the spring break to come. Party comes, weather's right, they jump in the swimming pool, they swim, they make a mess out there. Okay? So now FDA, because of that, we are taking very, very close precautions. Now FDA is talking to the chocolate manufacturing company to say, can you guys give me a proof, since you are also a high-fat product, that your product is free of any pathogenic concerns? Chocolate company look at each other and say, oh, some of the production line in 70-some years never been stopped. They never opened it, never cleaned it. And they do have a microbiology lab at every company. But tell you what, I always told my students the best job you can find is to work as a microbiologist in a chocolate company. Because you have no samples, you have no data, you don't have to report anything. It's always safe. Nothing can grow in it. Okay? But now FDA says you need to show them the data. So the chocolate company, they don't know what to do. So they come to me with trying to do some computer simulation to help them. That's another story. And in this country, also in Maryland, we have some problem about this raw milk. We know that in our neighboring state, in Pennsylvania, they can sell raw milk cheese, raw milk products. But in Maryland, we cannot. So what Maryland farmers are doing is they send their raw milk to Pennsylvania to be made into raw milk cheese, and then come back and sell in the state of Maryland. And now we're trying to see if there's ways to manage this. And the State Department of Health called me and said, look, can you do training for the farmers about raw milk? Okay, I can spend 3 hours talking about how dangerous raw milk is. But then they said, no, the farmers are supposed to tell them how they can bypass the regulation so they can make money. I gave them 2 answers. I said, you either dial your clock back to before 1976, when there was no regulation in Maryland, then you can make your raw milk sales. Or you go, again, fly a taxi and look okay. It's not possible for us to let go this heavy load of microorganisms that's so abundant in the environment of cowboy. And of course, in Louisiana, down south, people are more happy mamas who carry out in Louisiana. And so people go there, they drink. You go to French Quarter, you buy oyster, you buy crawfish. But Louisiana state government got into enough trouble. So now, for every restaurant you go to order raw oyster, the menu says that Louisiana state government is not responsible for any illness caused by consumption of raw oysters. Okay. But they don't look into this. So you're on your own. You go to Louisiana. So there are certain cases specific to different regions that the food is regulated differently in the US. And the thing we're concerned more about is the food adulteration. So what's adulteration? By the total federal regulation definition, either something that's poisonous or deleterious, okay, or it's filthy and foreign matter, and some added for economic reasons, and there's some microbial contamination. And how do we combat that? Okay. USDA and FDA spend a lot of time to develop something called standard of identity. And this is the thing I really like to see the two agencies working hand in hand. One take care of the standard identity for the finished product. So USDA they define things. This might sound ridiculous, but look at the definition on the slide here. Salmonella with meat and sauce. You need to have at least 12% meat. If you call that salmonella with meat sauce, you only need to have 6% of meat. So every single type of product that's salmonella with meat or without meat has its own definition right there. And on the other side, the FDA, they have standards for ingredients. So every food additive pretty much is under their regulation. Okay? Even for something like cheddar cheese, they'll tell you what's the minimum fat content in there, and what's the maximum moisture content in there by weight. So USDA and FDA, they have very tight standards. And the food ingredient approval is a lengthy process. I give you only one example here. So FDA have something called GRAS, generally recognized as safe. Those are the compounds that people are consuming years over years, and there's no safety problems. Like your salt, like your sugar, like the regular flour, those things are GRAS. Okay? But for new ingredient, okay, look at this company, this huge company in Cincinnati, Ohio. It's probably the biggest company now. It's called Procter & Gamble. They spent 30 years hiring more than 124 PhDs to work on this product called Olestra. Olestra is a compound where you take some sugar and then you add it with some kind of fatty acids. They try to create a fat replacement. So this one time that they're pushing for this wow products. So what should go into your potato chips? Potato, salt, and oil, right? So your ingredient list would be like potato, salt, and oil. But once you change over to the fat replacement, artificial fat, this line becomes 20 lines long. And add back a lot of additives. Even your vitamin A, D, E, K, those fat-soluble vitamins, they're gone with fat. So they could bring them back. So that creates a lot more problems there. However, this product is out of business in about 2 years because what? Consumer complained about stomach cramp and different kind of disease associated with it. So it shows you in the process of making a new ingredient, FDA requires you to provide acute toxicity, also chronic toxicity. And chronic are 25 years of data. So it's not easy at all. But think back, is 25 years long enough to represent the safety of a product? Okay? Many people are thinking this might not be adequate at all because it's too short. 25 years may sound long, but for people's lifespan, it's really short. And how do we handle risk? In the US, there's one case about this particular ingredient called hydrolyzed vegetable proteins. This is the group of compounds that, in response to the scares of MSG, most of us know about MSG, right? Monosodium glutamate. So how do you know you ate something that was MSG? If you go to a restaurant and come out, you drink a lot of water, so you're thirsty, pretty much that's MSG. And so people don't want MSG, but it's what monosodium glutamate. So let's find something from protein in vegetable. If we can hydrolyze it, again, have some kind of glutamate, similar to the MSG, but it's not MSG. It's not synthesized by Japanese. It's natural ingredient. So they put that in there. And when I talk about this was about last year, FDA got a report that these guys are contaminated by salmonella. Again, big friends, it's everywhere. And the FDA was thinking about doing a mass recall of all the products that contain BPE. Okay? And after they look at that, about 33%, 1/3 product in the supermarket need to be recalled. And it's we cannot announce that news, otherwise everybody is flocking to supermarket like it's the end of the day, you get all the food and then you go home. They don't want to create this kind of chaos. So what instead they issue a voluntary recall to each ingredient supplier, have them silently recycle all the products without their new ones, without these contaminated products. So there are ways to handle this kind of risks, and FDA did a good job. And legally, okay, how can they afford to do this kind of things? Because the legal responsibility is very, very clearly written for different suppliers. For example, if you are a spice company, you sell your product to a food manufacturer. If spice company need to equip with the MSDS, the material safety data sheets. They will specify different microbial packs, different kind of chemical ingredient there. And then your legal responsibility ends when you are handing your product to the next supplier. And then they can actually take it and make it. So if the case about plasticizer happened in the US, Uni President Taiwan will not be in trouble at all because they are in the process. They are not producers of these contaminated ingredients. But in Taiwan, we always recognize Taiwan being the biggest company. They can probably get more money from them, so we try to do that. And of course, all the way from the food processor to the distributor to retail, there's another interface where the legal responsibility is very, very clear cut. Okay? So the company will prepare that document, okay, all the headset that we talk about, and all the other GMP we talk about. They all need to keep their documentation as a communication tool. When something wrong happens, the company has a tool to say, okay, I done what I can. It might be the next person who did not do their job. And our biggest belief in the country's regulation is that for every consumer to have a right to know, you need to have the right to know about what goes into your food. And this is going to be further strengthened by the new law signed by President Obama to go into the Food Safety Modernization Act. We're going to touch upon something very, very new here too, about the imported food. Okay? Unfortunately, after September 11, 2001, the inspection rate of imported food at the borders into this country is a big number, or percentage zero. We do not expect any imported food at the customs anymore because all the people who were there, USDA, they got shipped over to Homeland Security. So they're looking for something different, or anti-terrorism type of material. But right now, with the new law, we give the importer. So for example, some of you might know somebody who used to import certain type of product from Asia. And they used to say, okay, I'm a trading company, I import a product, I come here, anything goes wrong, it's the company in Taiwan somewhere, they make the product, they are responsible. Not anymore under this new law. The importer, regardless how small an agent you are fully responsible legally for the safety of the product you sell. So I look at this law, I look at my students in Maryland, and say, this is nice for you guys. This looks like Food Science Employment Act. Because everybody needs to hire food scientists to make sure that food is safe and it's nice. So you guys all have a job in the future. Good for you guys. And however, in the whole process, I touched upon shortly about how important us to look at the safety in this country's food. But every single additive is regulated. And this is the list of the most popular food additives used in today's food products. Look at all of this chart. Many of them carry a chemical name. Some of you probably don't recognize. It's very powerful to understand. So, what's food toxicity? It's dosage that makes it toxicity. So, every single compound, if you consume more than enough, then you get toxic effects over time. But then the accumulation data is not enough. Okay? You only have 25 years of study on laboratory animals. And although we are animals, we are different from the rats and mice in the laboratory. So these data we are relying on. So we are swamped. We are actually swimming in this fluid every day. So that's the biggest concern. So if you're careful about what you eat, try to find something that's, according to my wife, try to find something that has a mother, okay, and it's grown, has somewhere that grows, so it's not highly processed to a level that you don't understand where they come from. Even today's kids, they think that meal comes from a refrigerator. They don't know it comes from a cow. So it's the next generation. So I know my time is limited. I just want to talk briefly about what's next. There's some new things that's coming on the radar screen. Maybe you don't know. Maybe you're aware of. Okay. I'd like to show this picture. Okay. This is substances that a lawyer need. But this is life. You grow up single, you met somebody you love, and then you create a family, and at some point the kids leave you, go to college, and then end up you have 2 brushes. And then at some point you are alone, and at some point you only live with you and your own teeth in the car. Okay. That's life. But genetically, we are structured in this way. But there are some people, they don't believe in that. They say we can make it better. No, the Qin, the next Qin Shi want to live a long life. Now people try to say, now we have to do it. We have GM, genetic modification. So today, all the soybean we eat in this country, more than 90% is genetically modified. It's a fact, nobody tells you. Our friends at USDA, they closed their pesticide inspection units because they don't need to do that. It's all the soybeans, all the corns, they are pest resistant because of the GM. And so what's the problem with GM? It's good. People say that's absolutely safe. Okay? And this is how it's done. Something very simple, because I haven't been teaching this course for the last 12 years. They take whatever you like from a gene, this high beta carotene in your carrots. You take that and you put it into whatever bacteria to carry, use the bacteria from the animal and make them into your brain. And they carry, when they come to a fruit, they cut it. They use that to deliver this genetic information into your food. And then they grow better, they grow big, and then they come into your corn. And the corn becomes something that the worms they don't like. So what's wrong with that? Beautiful corn, everybody likes it, it's delicious. It's supposed to kill these little tiny worms that's going to be pesticides in the corn. But what happened was that these ingredients, these are toxins, so basically internalize pesticides. These are pesticides specific to this worm. So you give the ingredient inside this particular corn. And then so you hope that this worm comes to it, dies. But other worms also die. And then the system is, the toxin is to actually peel off the internal digestive system of these worms. But there are some suspicions, there's some people starting to accumulate information now, that we are seeing more and more allergies in this generation. Why is that? Okay. Because people are suspecting that there's no conclusion yet, don't call me on this, but consumption of GM products actually might damage our inner layer of our small intestine. And with that damage, that simple last layer is the filter to block anything from entering our bloodstream. And if you lose that barrier, what's not supposed to go to our bloodstream is now entering into our bloodstream. And that unknown material is there to cause different small protein material. Okay, they can cause allergies, they can cause cancers. And these are also proven by, this is a picture by National Science Foundation. These GM products can travel downstream by wind, by pollen, by river for miles. It's hard to control, so it can be easily operated. And when scientists are very beautifully discovering about this, how can clone sheep, how can make things more beautiful, even like Johnny Depp in his chocolate factory movie said, if you guys don't listen to me, I will resequence your DNA. Okay? This is what's coming. Kids don't listen to you, they say, I'm going to resequence your DNA. But these are the type of things that technology is here. Sometimes, when we are so excited about science, about technology, we probably need to look at the other side, downside, what's the potential risk. So that's the talk I want to deliver today about this. The next part is about nanotechnology. I'm going to skip some of that. And I'll come to the last slide to share with you that this is a thinking process. It's continuously to think about what comes and what goes and who's interviewing, especially. We did some study about Sarah Lee's white loaf, okay, the white toast. You know, if you calculate all the ingredients that go into your white toast, all of it travel around the globe 3.5 times. So some honey from Canada, some other additives, from India, and different things. So we are so interdependent on each other. That's why buying local, when Michelle Obama might be right, buying local, eating local, and selecting what you know where they come from is very important. So I hope to end my speech right here, because it's afternoon and I'm glad I'm not going to sleep as I tell. So thank you very much. So I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Luis.